Retirement. That's what we're all aiming at, right? But exactly what does that mean? It conjures up visions of endless days of golf, drinks with little umbrellas in them on a tropical beach, feet up reading a book. Is that what it's all about? I don't think so. Life would get pretty dull after a while without anything meaningful to do, don't you think? I'm Jackie Doucette, and I'm on a mission to discover exactly what life is like beyond retirement. Join me while I chat with people who've already done it, who've retired to something rather than from something. Let's find out together exactly what's waiting for us when we say goodbye to that 9 to 5. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Beyond Retirement. I'm your host, Jackie Doucette, and today I'm joined by a couple of incredible guests, Tony and Soozie Cisneros. Like many couples, they were looking forward to enjoying their retirement together, travel, adventure, new beginnings. But just as they closed the chapter on full-time work and opened the door to their new home and their new life, life threw them a cannonball, actually 2 cannonballs. On the very same day, both Tony and Soozie received life-changing diagnoses. Today, we're here to share what came next, the treatment, the setbacks, the strengths of their family, and the surprising gifts that come with surviving the unimaginable. Tony and Soozie, thanks so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you very much for inviting us.
You're welcome.
Let's start right at the beginning. What were those first few days like when you were getting ready to retire and things were going well, and then you learned what was going on?
My husband, being a planner as he is, he was planning a vacation for us and was running things by me as to, when do you want to go? Where do you want to go? This is a great bargain. Let's plan a trip. And we just thought we would just go ahead and get some routine checkups, just, routine. And all our plans were halted immediately.
We'd gone in to get, like she said, routine testing, but turns out both of us were, our doctors were finding some things that were a little bit suspicious, which required additional testing. And then that led to our diagnoses that we both got at the same time.
I ended up with IBC, invasive ductal carcinoma, which is breast cancer. And Tony was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And we called each other on the same day, right after lunch, after we'd received our results. And it was one of those conversations, you go first. And he says, well, I've got some news for you too.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shocker for both of us to get that within an hour of each other finding out.
And so what was your first thought afterwards?
Gosh, it was more of, we don't have time for this. We've got a life to plan. We've got vacation. We've got things that we do and enjoy with our community. And it was just one of those things that we didn't understand why this curve was being thrown at us. And we just had to stop immediately and start doing research as to what our next steps were for treatment.
Yeah, it put a lot of things on the back burner as we had to now start investigating options, doctors, additional testing, treatment options, if there were any. So it was a whirlwind.
And the treatment options, you obviously had very different treatment plans. What did the journey look like for each of you?
Well, mine was it was a bit more invasive, where, I thought, okay, well, I'd had friends that had treatment that were just, a few treatments of radiation, 1 week, 7 treatments. And I thought, I can do that. We can put life off for another week. But mine was a little bit more detailed, where I needed treatment, the first round of chemotherapy. And then, of course, there were complications with that, where I needed injections on a daily basis. And then I had the second round of chemotherapy and then radiation and several surgeries in between that. So our life was put on hold for nearly 2 years. Tony's was more monitored.
Mine was what they call surveillance.
And biopsies.
They did biopsy, MRIs, then biopsies. And then the thought pattern was, with everything else going on in our lives, doctor said, you could probably just wait and watch for at least a year. We'll monitor you, what they call surveillance, and till it just wasn't going to work out having both of us in treatment at the same time. It was too many unknowns. Who was going to be up for what? So when he said I could go under surveillance and just monitor it, it was pretty much a no-brainer. That was the route we were going to go to get Susie past hers.
Wow. And Susie, for 2 years, that's putting your life on hold just doesn't even explain or doesn't kind of cover what must have been going through your mind at that point. So everything is different now.
It was different. It was quite different because we're very involved in our community, our church, our volunteer work. That was put not completely on hold, but I had a different role opposed to being in front of people because I was immune compromised. Tony was my go-to chauffeur. He was my rock. And he took over a few of the things that I had to do that I typically would do. So he stepped up in so many ways, not only to be there and hold my hand through this journey, but to also take the reins over when I couldn't.
There was a lot of involvement with our church where we have been very active, and some of those things we tried to keep up with, but like Susie said, being immune compromised, it kind of restricted pretty much hardly getting out of the house outside of treatments. We were just pretty much homebound, just trying to keep her healthy and safe and keeping myself healthy since I'm there with her 24/7.
And we were very cautious with our visitors, asking them to be immunized. And because we didn't want anyone to come around us that might compromise my health anymore. So we were in a little bubble.
I'll bet you thought that after COVID, the bubbles were all done and you could move on with your life. And now all these things have changed.
Oh, I know.
And I understand your family played a big role as well.
Oh, definitely. We've got 5 children between us both and 5 grandchildren. So yes, they were able to step in if we weren't feeling well and bring us meals. They are my son-in-law and my granddaughter ran in the Susan B. Komen race in my honor. Our children, most of them shaved their heads because they knew I was losing my hair. Tony shaved his head. My sister flew in from New Jersey to help Tony take care of me and give us some guidance that she could. Not that she had been down this path, but she had, been used to having short hair and wanted to show us how to shave our heads and cut our hair properly. So it was just a big thing. The kids came in, they decorated because I started my treatment prior to Halloween, and we're big decorators for every season. And so the kids came in and decorated for us for both Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, and then came back and took everything down because our community goes way out and there's just huge competitions and it's just a lot of fun. There's hay rides and things, and we didn't get to participate in a lot of that, but I got to sit on the porch and wave at everybody from a distance. So it was great. Our daughter lived the closest to us, and she just made sure she monitored us and made sure that, Dad was in great shape. When he was down, she'd step up. If he couldn't get to an appointment and I had to be somewhere, she would take off of work and take care of me and things like that. Sisters, brothers, family, our community from church stepped in and just would leave meals at the doorstep. It was amazing that you just don't realize you have so many friends and family that care for you. You know that they're there when you pick up the phone and call them, but it's when you don't feel like picking up the phone and calling them, they're there, and that is a really great feeling.
That made me break out in goosebumps. Yes, that's a feeling that you only get in a community where you're a big part of it and you're loved by everyone. And it's obvious that that's the community you've got. I think that's great. It kind of leads into my next question, but answers it. How did your relationship get affected by having this diagnosis from each or for both of you? Did it change how you see each other or how you interact?
Well, it certainly increased our faith. We are very devout Catholics, and our faith we thought was strong, but it was so much stronger because you see it from a different perspective, opposed to just knowing you have prayer, but knowing that prayer works. Because I believe that had it not been for prayer and community and love and faith, it would have been a much different route and a different aspect. And it was those moments that were the weakest that I think our strength and our faith was tested in each other and in life.
We had one experience that it was extremely unique. Never experienced this before, and it was just prior to one of Susie's surgeries. And the surgeon came in and sat with us for a few minutes and explained what he was going to do and how he'd come out and speak with me after the surgery. And so he gave us some warm fuzzies, and we felt good. And at the end, he said, "Do you mind if I pray?" And you could have knocked us both over with a feather. Never in my life have I ever had a doctor offer to pray, and that meant so much to us. It just
Wow.
it carried us. It really did. It a newfound
Respect.
respect, and you sometimes forget doctors are human too, and they have faith in God, and many times we have thanked doctors, and they said, "I'm just an instrument, a tool of God," and so hearing them say that meant so much to us.
Oh, that's wonderful. It definitely holds your faith strong, or makes your faith stronger to have that happen, I think.
Extremely.
Yes.
So I understand, Soozie, that you've been declared cancer-free. What was the first thing that you guys did when you got that diagnosis?
Yeah. Well, it was an amazing feeling, but you always have in the back of your mind when the other shoe is going to drop. But just going home, which we live very close to our hospital, which was very convenient and nice. But going home, Tony had the biggest surprise for me. He had these signs made and put out in our front yard that said, "Soozie had her last chemo today. She rang the bell." And I was able to sit out on my porch, and he had invited all of our friends, and he had ordered all these pink t-shirts for everyone that in our community that, wanted one. And we gave them, and they were these pink shirts that said, "I'm here to support Soozie during this journey." And I just sat outside and took pictures with people, and people honked and waved. And it was just an amazing feeling that I came home one day and there were flowers on my porch from a stranger that said, "I saw you rang the bell. Congratulations. We're behind you." And it said, Shepherd Park Plaza, which is the subdivision we lived in. And it was just the feeling of people and that saying, "I don't know you, but I care for you." And that's, something that you don't always see and you don't often feel. So that was just really a shocker and a surprise, but it was a great feeling. And it's still a great feeling every morning my feet hit the floor, knowing that I'm hitting the 1-year mark in January, that I'm cancer free, and I just look forward to every day.
Back this past spring or early summer. Well, let me preface that with Soozie hadn't driven a car for 2 years. I took her everywhere, and a lot of times she just didn't feel good to be driving, and reaction times we just didn't chance it. So I drove her everywhere, and then as she was getting her strength back, hair was growing back, her ability to get back into volunteering was becoming much more to the forefront. And she looks at me one day, she goes, "I need my own car." So we went out and bought a couple of cars, and we each had our own car. And then she finally just said to me, "I got this. You're not really tied to me to hold my hand anymore." And that kind of threw me for a loop because I didn't have any hobbies.
I am his hobby.
She was my hobby, and so right about that time, I get a call from a guy who's president of the company I used to work with, and he'd moved on, and he stayed in touch with us, and he goes, "Hey, how's it going? I said, we're doing great. We're happy. And Susie's got her strength back. And he said, well, you ready to get back in the game? I said, oh, man. So, just kind of hit me, it's just like, okay, now I got all this spare time on my hands now. And so anyway, it's just life is great right now. And we're both feeling great and staying busy and active, taking a couple little side trips and going out of town. And so, yeah, everything's good.
And your travel plans for retirement, are you starting to put them back in place the way they were before, or have you changed your plans a little bit?
Oh, no. We, for instance, next year is the 100th anniversary of Route 66. And so we have plans where we're going to fly to Chicago and rent a car, and we're going to drive all the way to the Santa Monica Pier and just take our time. And if it takes us 8 days or 12 days, we're just going to get on the road and just see where it takes us.
Our life is going to have no agenda.
Yeah, we just get up in the morning. It's like, okay, what are we going to do today?
So now, looking back at all the things that have happened, what advice could you give other couples who are heading into retirement and they might be blindsided like this, like you were?
I would say don't be discouraged, because there is always light at the end of the tunnel, and just trust the process, because there is a reason why you're on this journey. We don't know what the journey is going to be like, but there is a purpose for this. And we have to find that purpose, whether it is finding newfound friends in the doctors and the trust, or finding newfound friends on the next road trip. And just thinking, that was worth it. So there's so many paths that we have crossed during this journey with, whether they've been medical teams or just people that have been down this road before that have given us guidance. So we know that we're going to be able to be an asset to someone somewhere at some point in time. But don't take your eye off the prize, because it's going to happen. It may be slowed down because there's a reason why he's slowing us down.
During the journey, there was a lot of times when I'm sitting there with Susie during her treatments, and those treatments lasted several hours, 4, 5, maybe 6 hours. We'd be sitting there as the treatment process, and then there were some folks who had already been down this road who were very reassuring, and then came the opportunity for us to be the ones reassuring other people who were just beginning their path, their journey, and helping them learn and understand and try to get comfortable with this as best you can.
Trying to calm the fears, because we had those fears as well.
Yeah, it's like there's no saying, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So that was it. And just I remember one lady there that was struggling with many issues in her life, and Susie has a good background of helping people through her contacts and resources, and we were able to provide her with some resources to help her get through her situation. And so it was good that we were brought together with a lot of people. And I remember one particular day, Susie was going to be starting a very difficult round of chemo, and there was a lot of trepidation, a lot of concern, and I walked into that room to get her spot, and there was a lady there, a treatment person, who was the actual supervisor of all the oncology nurses who did the treatments. And I looked at Susie and I said, your guardian angel is here today for today's treatment, because she was starting one that was not a very pleasant one. And they gave it this term called red devil. So it just kind of puts the fear of God in you to begin with. And then this treatment nurse, she goes, we got this. We're going to be good. And she did. She held her hand through the whole process of that first one, and it went well. She gave her some advice to go home and try this and try that. You're going to wake up with some aches and pains and do this for it and do that, and you'll be good. And all of it worked. it was like old wives' tales. But meeting this person that day when you walk in there and you're just scared of the unknown, and then this person can just set all our fears aside and felt good. And like I said, it was her guardian angel that day.
And we did hit right, oh gosh, a few months ago, we did hit one of our bucket lists, which was going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Football Hall of Fame in Ohio. So that was one of the bucket lists that we had, been planning for months and years, and we did get to do that. And I had mentioned to Tony, because I'm a big rock and roll fan, and one of the bands was playing, and I said, Tony, we've got to see them before these guys retire. And so we were able to see the Doobie Brothers, but we had to travel to Ohio to see them, which was great. We didn't care where they were. We were just going to see it and enjoy it. And that's just one of the many things on our bucket list, is so many halls of fame that we want to touch and see. And because we feel like we're Hall of Famers too in this journey.
Most definitely. So you bought a couple of new cars. Do you travel in your cars when you travel, or do you travel by plane normally? How do you go?
Well, we take
Mixture.
Yeah, we snuck over to Louisiana from here and went to the casinos after we got one of the cars, and nice little road trip. And then we flew to Cleveland, but we rented a car to drive down to Akron where that concert was, and then down to Canton where the Football Hall of Fame is. And so we got to see that. A lot of people don't think of, you went where? Well, you don't think that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland. And so, yeah, it was fun. We enjoyed it, and just the two of us.
And one thing we did get to see, which was kind of funny, but was the Christmas Story house. We have a tradition with the grandkids of asking them after Thanksgiving. We always watch a Christmas story, and we went to go see the leg lamp. So that was kind of a big deal to us. So yeah, we're getting back into the swing of things.
And do you have anything that's a big, exciting thing in the future? Anything that you've got planned that's, that you're really, really excited about?
Well,
Machu Picchu.
Yeah, we're going to go to South America, to Machu Picchu. That's on the agenda, and then over to Brazil, to Rio, and see the Christ the Redeemer statue there. So that's going to be a big one there for us. That's pretty darn big for us. So yeah, we're kind of history buffs, so we're going to go hit some presidential museums, and there's several in California we're going to go visit. And so yeah, we got little things on our list like that.
So it sounds like you're treating all of this as just a little bump in the road. You're just going to continue on and enjoy your retirement and do the things you plan to do.
Exactly. One of my sons said, because I had, when you get diagnosed with this and so many people that have either conquered cancer or succumbed to it, you don't know which direction to turn. And I said, the treatment plan they've given me is extensive, and I just don't know if I want to do this. And my son had said, Mom, what is 2 years out of your life? He says, don't worry about it. Do it. We love you and we want you to be here. And yeah, it was a bump in the road. 2 years sounds like a lot, but when in the grand scheme of things, I mean, look how long we're here. 2 years, in a couple of years, we're not even going to remember 2 years ago.
Earlier today, we back when Susie was diagnosed, we had just moved into we had downsized and moved into this smaller home, and which turned out to be a blessing. It was a one-story home and smaller and easier to maintain. And so a few months ago, we just started kicking some tires around. This house served us well. Let's think about the next one. And doggone if we didn't go buy another house and move again. And today we're breaking out the Christmas decorations, and I was up on the ladder hanging some garland, and I looked over at Susie and I said, who would have thought a year ago we would be in another new house, hanging this garland from the old house and moving on to this next chapter. And we were opening boxes, and I was leaving notes to myself a year ago. And here's the timer for this tree, and here's the extension cords you use. And I said, a year ago, we'd have never thought we'd have been this far down the road with all the success and health. And now here we are, just getting on with life, and another new house, new chapter, and making our way through life.
I have a journal that I keep on occasion, and I'm not diligent about it, but there's been years that I have wrote certain notes to myself, and they've always been prayers for others or concerns for everybody else but myself. But I went back with this move and finding some of my journals of how I felt that day, what my reaction was, and what was the scripture that I leaned on the most that day, and what I was looking forward to after that journey. And so I kind of put myself in and read those again when I was emptying out things and thought, wow, this is how I felt that day, but this is how I want to feel. And I'm at that point to where I know how I wanted to feel then, and I'm feeling it now. Very grateful, very blessed, and very thankful.
Yes, we can't thank the Lord enough for the success of being on the other side of this journey. And this road we were on was a test, and I'd like to think we passed the test. So whenever we can share our experience with anyone to help get them through something, it's a pleasure for us to hold somebody's hand and say, "You got this. I'm here for you." There was a time Susie was in for a scan, and there was a gentleman there who was there for a test at the same time she was there, and the poor guy he was short on what he needed to cover his copay. He didn't think he had a copay, and they told him he was going to have to leave or reschedule. And I went over there and I asked him, I said, how much does he need? And they gave me an amount. And this is just so strange. I looked in my wallet and I had exactly the amount of cash in my wallet that he needed. And I handed it to him. I said, "I got you, buddy." And he wanted my phone number, my name, and "You don't need that. I got you today." And he was able to have his test. And so that day, I was his guardian angel there among us.
I don't think that there could be a better way to end this conversation than to say, that was beautiful. That is the perfect ending to your story. You had a guardian angel, you paid it forward. And that's it. I'm so happy to have met you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. And you enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
And that's it for this episode of Beyond Retirement. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed it. Are you ready to start rocking your retirement? Head on over to www.beyondretirement.ca/rocking it and sign up to plan out your own roadmap for retirement. Don't wait till it's too late.